Vakasi-Ya is a savage world. Literally, it means the incarnation, the body of Vakasi, a god of nature, of life and rebirth, but a god interested not in harmony, a god that is savage, that is the ferocity of nature, an angry god. The seas are in a constant state of hurricane, of typhoon, making it impossible to even venture from the shores of Kutan, the continent upon which our tale takes place. Now, in the lower eastern quadrant of Kutan is a land walled by steep, craggy mountains known as the Hags. The kingdom of Mavaran is the kingdom of humankind and of gnome kind, and halfling, those whose blood shares both. The Knights Mavarine, the Knights of Mavaran, are appointed, invested with authority by the immortal King Felden. These knights, in particular, are three of a newly formed cohort that has been assigned the task of finding and wow, completely drew a blank. Of sort of tasked with finding the source of some strange whispers that have been emerging from the towns that push up against the Hags. These mountains are notoriously treacherous. Traveling through them is ill-advised, even when it's not impossible. The knights traveled into the depths to a place, the center of a pass known as Popper's Basin. There they discovered a massive door carven with a chaos of images, strangely, when viewed in certain light, looking very much like them. Their trip was perilous, fraught with all manner of weird signs and ill omens, portents and hauntings. And by the time they reached that door, the world around them seemed to collapse, to warp, to fold inward. It is for this reason that they rushed beyond that threshold and into what seemed only to be void. Almost instantaneously, they turned and emerged from it once again to a world that appeared unaltered. And yet, ever since they left that door, these strange happenings around them have only increased, have only quickened, have only intensified. We find them walking the high cliff passes out of the Hags as they flee back toward the mining town of Blackvein, hoping to bring these dark tidings to the attention of the king to whom they are thrice sworn. This cohorts of Knights Mavarine and their vigil flee the apocalyptic darkness of the Hags. Even now the madness of these terrible mountains pursues them in their attempt to escape. Something has changed. And so I want you to cast your eyes with me down upon the Hags, upon their cruel, unnatural sharpness, like teeth of stone, crooked and gapped and vicious as they shroud Mavaran. And as we grow closer, we see the perpetual layers of ice and snow, the rime of frost that coats everything, the near absence of life, scraggly plants as rare as a warm breath in this place. But the cohort is not at rest, nor are they marching. Rather, Cuff, the gnome wizard, the witch knight, and Kiarv, the bardic knight, are both looking several yards beyond them. For Tavin holds Rasvan aloft by the throat, and around them a strange fan of air vibrating like fissures in the sky. He stands there blank-eyed and lost of any seeming perception of what he is doing. And that's why the first thing I would like to do
another character for Rasvan.
Tavin, you are in a dark and empty place. Your vision is tunneled, almost cataract, and in the pinhole that you see before you, there is a strange, blurred and broken scene. Two things are happening. They are happening once before your eyes. There is one and then the other. Every blink is the scene changes, it twists, it warps again. In the first, you are hanging from a tree as a young boy. He is scrawny. He has not yet found the lean muscle that will coil itself around your frame as you grow. Still scrawny, still comparatively weak, still unworthy of your family line. He has fallen from the top of a tree, and he has become tangled in the branches during that fall. And in the tangle of branches, near those the lowermost boughs of this tree, he is caught by the neck. And he is scratching and clawing desperately at the fork in the branch that is slowly hanging him. And then in that same moment, layered over it, there is a boy who has fallen from the tree, who has landed bruised but relatively unharmed upon the ground. And there is a stern man who bears a striking familial resemblance that has grabbed him by the throat and lifted him up by the neck to look into his eyes with dark fury laced with the one thing worse than his anger: disappointment. You can feel yourself drifting toward this thing. You can feel the fissure between them, the crack in memory that separates them, and it becomes difficult to discern which one is real. The closer you get, the less these images overlay. As you near them, they are separate more and more. Splinters. Imagine that you are looking through broken glass at a distorted image, and some of those pieces of glass look upon one scene and some look upon the other. The only constant, the only non-distorted thing is you, hanging there by your neck, struggling. But whether it is your uncle's fist or whether it is the tree itself is unclear. What did you do?
Ooh, buddy.
Easy question.
It's an easy question. No, yeah. So I'm standing in the darkness looking at this pinhole of broken glass showing me these images.
Mm-hmm. And the glass is fractured. There are sort of a shatter pattern through this pane that you were looking, and some of those pieces show one scene and some show another, but in every scene you are in the same position in the center, hanging by your neck, struggling. One, you're clawing at your uncle's arm. The other, you're clawing at a branch, both in desperation as your face grows more and more pale.
I sort of reach up and just rub my throat where I can remember it being cut off.
You can feel wood and knuckles when you reach up. You can feel something is around your neck. It feels as if it is growing tighter, and sometimes it feels like wood, and sometimes it feels like the hairy back of a thick fist.
With my other hand, I reach out towards the images to try and touch one of them.
Which one are you trying to touch?
The one with my uncle holding it.
All right. There is a moment where these things bleed together, and you can feel the shards of this pain of broken reality cutting so easily through your flesh. And then you are there. You are looking into the fury of your uncle's eyes. You can feel yourself growing faint, your vision darkening as he sneers at you beneath the tree. He shakes his head. Always unworthy.
One day, I'll prove it to you.
He laughs. He slams you backward against the trunk of the tree and lets you drop onto its unforgiving, gnarled roots. And he looks down and he says, one day you will realize. But not today. Today's still a fool child. Still a thin-blooded weakling. And I, cursed to make you something else.
I won't quit like you.
His face grows very pale. And he moves towards you with liquid grace. And that is the last thing you can perceive before his boot strikes the side of your head with savage, nigh-killing force. And then, nothing. Let's see.
By Tavin.
Tavin stands holding the vigil aloft, off his feet, one-handed as if he weighed nothing. His fist is actually indiscernible beneath the veil inside the hood, until it looks like Rasvan simply hangs at the end of Tavin's wrist. There are fitful, instinctive twitches of his legs in this moment, and behind Tavin a spray of these irregular, distorted cracks in the air, like heat that rises off of hot stone, but outward in either direction. And then there is blood running down the arm that holds Rasvan, pouring down his forearm, cascading down his elbow, and he grows pale, and his arm shudders, seems to grow weak, and he drops Rasvan upon the snow in front of you. All of this in a moment, all of you within a heartbeat or two before Kaf and Kiarv. Rasvan, you are crumpled, you are choking, you are coughing in these ragged gasps, and there is something that is being expelled from your throat into your hood. You like as if you are retching up the contents of your stomach as you struggle to breathe. Tavin, you see sitting nearby the vigil, Kaf and Kiarv, the hand that he was holding him cut to ribbons. What do you do?
Sorry, wait. The hand is next to the visual.
It's still attached to
Okay.
Tavin. Tavin is sitting next to him. So what happened is Tavin suddenly sort of grew like pale and weak looking and dropped Rasvan, and now he's also sort of sitting down nearby him. But the hand with which he was choking the vigil is just horribly, it's just cut to pieces. It's just bleeding from so many just razor sharp wounds all over it. Rasvan is it sounds as if he is like retching and vomiting within his veil.
I'm gonna run over to the vigil and stop myself before I reach them. And then step between the vigil and Tavin and pull this stick that I have
The branch, yes.
and place it before me, between me and Tavin, and say, "What was that? Tavin, are you with us?"
Do I hear that?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Just pretty blank. Just sort of look up and like I'm seeing you for the first time.
We did
No.
not.
You're not Vandir.
Say that again. Sorry.
You're not Vandir. Where's my uncle? He was just here.
Her uncle. Tavin, you nearly killed the vigil.
No.
It's as you're
No,
saying
no.
that you see Rasvan. He's struggling to speak. He's coughing. He's been retching, and you see that there is some sort of almost spiny black bilious substance that is just like leaking from underneath his hood down on his robes and onto the snow.
Cuff. Cuff, can you tend to the vigil?
I will do best. And Cuff runs over, and he like actually has pulled his spell book out, and he is running like one hand on this book, and he is like eyeing Tavin the whole time. And he walks up to Rasvan, and he's shaking his head. Vigil, I how do I help you?
We do not. It was not us. We do not. No. Did not do that. Check Tavin.
Cuff, can you give me a perception check real quick?
I'm possibly good at those.
I would cross my fingers, but
2 hands.
Yeah.
Struggling to navigate in the character sheet. Also, probably doesn't help. I'm not using both hands. I was still pretending I had the book. Not helpful. Ooh, yeah, 23.
So as you are questioning him, you see some of whatever had poured from beneath the hood onto the snow. It is predominantly some sort of thick, black, oily bile, but breaking it up, swirling in the midst of it, seems to be wet feathers, dark, wet feathers.
Oh.
Oh.
Okay.
These feathers again.
You can hear this extremely high-pitched sort of sound. Sort of, it's like it's echoing inside of your head as you look at the feathers.
What color are the feathers?
They are black,
Thought so.
or a coal gray so dark as to be black, almost indistinguishable from the bile except in texture.
Vigil. Feathers are coming from inside you.
What? Wait.
I can assume that this means that is cause for alarm.
Our grasp of Gnomish is rudimentary. We cannot tell if you are making a joke.
Rasvan, as you cast your eyes down, you can see indeed it looks as if feathers are mixed in with the bile that poured out of you.
When we touched tavern, we saw wings. Is Spark is wrong. But we saw wings. Heard wings.
Cuff,
Whatever.
how are you about with nature, by the way?
Cuff?
Yeah. How
I'm untrained.
Yeah, okay. Just
We are trained. I think. Yes.
I
We are
think
trained with nature.
I think it makes most sense to ask Kjarv and Rasvan to roll me a nature check.
I'd say gladly, but I'm scared. 24.
I should roll. Hang on. Did it roll? It did not.
No.
I'll try it again then. Hang on. Why are you not rolling? Give me a second. Hang on. I'll roll here. 16 total.
All right. Both of you, whenever you have the moment in this time to look at those feathers, recognize them as the feathers of a starling.
Calvin,
Yeah.
what does the starling mean to you?
Cuff, I'm going to need a will save from you.
From me?
No, from Cuff.
Oh.
Oh, what? Oh, hell. Guy can't get ahead in the world.
Whoa, whoa.
Oh, Kiarv's rolls are coming through now.
Yeah,
Uh,
Good, good. I'm glad. That's great. That's helpful.
I got a 20 total on my will saving throw.
All right. There is a moment of intense pain behind your eyes when the word starling leaves Kiarv's mouth. There is the feeling of a memory that is so very close. It's right there, and then it slips away and is gone.
Oh my goodness gracious. I think Cuff is like racking himself. Likewise to me. Forgetting something. Why was Tavin obsessed with the bird before? Kept bringing up birds. Now
said he's-
feathers.
That is a question we cannot answer.
I have forgotten something to do with this.
Know something to do with this? How could you know something to do with this?
Something hurts when I get close to remembering. What? We are not right here.
You can say that
We are-
again.
Gaps in memory. In
Well, looks-
time.
Gaps in time, exactly. I was gonna say, like, it's like we haven't aged a day, and yet there's an entirely picked clean creature that
Remember-
was dead 10 minutes ago.
The Meropas. We remember.
Yes.
I do not remember entire journey here. Something missing. And Vigil, how can I help you? You are distressed.
You hear a half cough, half laugh from underneath Rastvan's veil. Lifts up his hands underneath the cloth that shields his face and just wipes this muck and that off, etc. So you never really see his face. You just see what his sputum is, whatever that's ichor that's come out. I'm gonna sit up. Not gonna stand up. He's kind of using all of his concentration to sit still. Ever since we stepped through that door, our sparks, the very essence that makes us, are broken. We touched heaven and saw things we should not have seen. Same with Kiarv.
Yeah, we know about that.
Not entirely. It was not our intent to share such things. We are certain that Cuff is just as broken as we are.
I know I am broken, Vigil. Memory
Nodded.
missing.
What we
Peace
are trying
missing.
to say. We are somehow able to see that brokenness. Yes, we suppose what we are asking is time and grace. You have always been the one to help guide others through their most difficult time as they move into the Hallows. And now we see more than we have seen before. Please. We just need time. And we will help you as best we can.
Vigil, I am sorry. I am not angry. I am confused.
That makes two of us.
Not at fault. And Cuff turns and kind of looks at Kiarv for a second as he says that, and then he's unsure if we should press on, but I am concerned about all of us.
We are gonna stand up really carefully. Take a second, sort of hands up, as if to say, "Oh, help us." Standing up. I don't want to risk touching someone, and
I think Cuff's taking steps back.
yeah, from what happened last time, we have not experienced what we are able to do. Do not know if it is magicka such as what you are capable of until we came here. If you want to help, we need to get out of the hags. And we will fully support any action to that endeavor. For now, you're fine. Attend to Tavern. He seems to be more greatly affected by what just happened than we are. And we would recommend take a sample of that ichor and the starling feathers with us. Just in case.
You say that looking down, but there are no feathers in the pile. Just the dark contents of an empty stomach on the snow.
No, we're on our hands and knees, pouring in that muck. But with feathers, we are certain of it. We saw it. We saw.
None of you. There are no
here.
feathers there.
Oh, there were. You felt. I tasted.
I saw the
The
bird
veil.
too.
Vigil,
So,
we all saw.
the feathers.
And if it is a madness of our own, it is a madness that we all share, not just we alone. We need to meditate. We need to restore some of this sanity that we have forfeited. What
Tavern.
would our mentor think?
Yeah.
If I take my eyes off you, if we relax our guard, you gonna choke us out?
No, I'd never do that to you.
I believe you. But then I did just watch you do it to Razvan.
I don't. You know I would never do that.
I
On
do.
purpose. I didn't see him. I didn't do that. I look at my hand. I mean, I did. But I didn't. So I want to tell you that you can trust me. Because I trust you to stop me.
Alright. I do trust you. I trust all of you. Side eye given to Razvan.
Tavern, brother. We do not bear you any ill will.
Now, I'd like to take just a moment there, because I know there's a tension there, and he is not your brother.
Yeah,
Your
immediately
brothers are the
snap
Knights
like that.
Mavarine. Like, Rasvan just called you brother, but he has not thrice sworn.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to, I'm saying that not for you guys, but for the benefit of the audience, is that the title, like calling someone brother within the Knights Mavarine, is an extremely sacred, serious thing. They have a very, very rare set of brothers, and those are the other people that are also thrice sworn, who have signed their souls over to this knighthood. So what Rasvan meant clearly as a term of endearment has a very different definition if you are addressing one of these knights. So the reason I'm saying that for the audience is that Kiarv's reaction may seem unreasonable unless you understand that sort of fact about the knights. And I know we have some new people here, so this is just like a little asterisk in the below that to say there's a little bit more going on there.
One time too many, Vigil. Look. I did not mean to assault you like that. And for that, you have my apologies. We were sworn to take this trip together, and for that, we shall complete the trip together. But you are simply aligned with us. I trust my brothers with my life, and they theirs. I will do everything in my power to protect you until we are back, and I will do everything in my power to protect my brothers. But you are not among them. Again, I'm sorry.
As are we. You will remember.
Vigil. You are our ward. Winnow commands us to keep you safe. For now, the protections between the three of us are extended to you. I should also explain, if one of the three of us does something again, and he kind of looks over at Tavin, it will be the responsibility of the other two to stop him. Tavin, if you are beside yourself again, harm one of us, we will stop you.
Tavin's gaze just sort of falls. He looks over at Cuff and just nods.
Does not mean we kill you.
Not unless you give us a damn good reason, son.
This mountain. That's when all of this. It wasn't the door. It wasn't the Meropis. It's this damn mountain.
This whole thing's been fucked since the word go.
As soon as we got to that inn, it's like we've been in a nightmare ever since.
There's that moment where the memory of the inn comes to mind, and that brief image of that rundown but clean and sturdy place in Blackvein from which you collected the items for your journey that were sent ahead of you, the massive beast of burden, the Meropis, that you took with you, and this constant, high-pitched, maddening, keening sound that hurts your mind. It sounds like the call of a starling.
There it is again.
Immediately, the branch comes back up.
The branch comes back up, and it appears. Now, you hold it as there's a single center point from which are splayed various smaller forks, obviously. Like you're holding not just a single piece of wood, but something that was blossomed, except the tips of all of it appear to be burnt.
Okay.
In fact, you can probably, Kiarv, smell sort of the last ghost of smoke as you hold it up. It was not like that before.
I keep an eye on Tavin and then sort of lower it a little. And
Everybody else,
Exactly.
please give me will saves.
You will
Kiarv,
not-
you automatically succeed.
okay.
13.
Hey.
Maybe you broke me.
I have charmed life. I get +2 circumstance bonus to save rolls.
That's
We
good.
love charmed life.
16.
Ooh, 24 + 2, 26.
Nicely done.
Cuff, you take 10 points of psychic damage.
Ooh.
The other two of you feel a sharp pain in your heads that passes. Kiarv, you don't even feel that. Just the burning smell of the branch that you hold.
That was not pleasant, to say the least.
What happened?
It's just searing pain and gone.
I think Cuff has just closed his eyes and he is just absent.
Like you all felt the pain?
As soon as I thought back to the inn, I heard this chirping, and then my brain was on fire. And then
Okay.
back.
Did you hear chirping too? Cough, Rasvan?
It is not the word that we would use to describe it. But
It,
I
it hurts.
pain fades, but we can feel the echo.
Cough, brother, what do you need?
I just want to sleep.
No shot. We'll get you home, buddy, and then we can all take a nice long nap. But we gotta get out of here.
Alright.
I think he's keeping his eyes closed, and he kind of turns towards your voice. He just says, "Just feels like eyes burning."
Okay. We're all here. We're all still alive. Some weird shit's happening. But I think we need to get up. We need to move. Vigil, are you in a state fit to move?
We are.
Tavin?
Yeah.
Cough?
Yes.
Alright. Then let's go. And I'll start keeping the branch out and the hand close to the axe. I will begin sort of marching.
All right. Tavin, what do you do about your hand? It is
Yeah, I've just
badly
sort of
cut
been-
up.
I was just sort of glancing at it for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then right before I take off, I start to head behind Kiar. Wait, I'm gonna lose all my blood if I don't take care of this hand.
Right. Give it here.
It's kind of attached.
You're a bastard and you know it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take some more of the if we have any of the bandages left from what we used to treat earlier. I'll just bind his hand as best I can with my medicine.
Rasvan's got some. I'll hand him over.
I'll give you a nod as I take it. Thank you. Give you a medicine check to treat wounds.
Careful not to cut your hand on those.
Oh, yeah, the sharp bandages.
Yeah. Cuff is very much remembering that.
Did that come through? Alright, I'm just gonna roll on. I'm gonna have to roll on Path Builder for a little bit because I don't know what's going on with the.
I'm gonna
Above.
psychically guide Diav without saying or doing anything. So you'll get a +1.
Okay. That brings
So
it up
I-
to an 18.
Hey, 18.
So, Rasvan, you were doing what to affect the roll?
Casting guidance, which
Yeah.
I don't need to actually say
Right.
really do anything.
Yeah.
Just as I'm handing it over, pull him back from the Hallows.
Yeah, there's sort of as you are doing what you're doing, Kiarv, there's this moment where it feels like a cool breeze blows through you, as if it blew, like as if your head were a sieve, and this sort of cooling air passed through it instead of around it, even within your hood and scarf and whatever else, and there's just this sense of sort of the world coming into sharper focus Oh, it's extremely subtle, but noticeable.
And I'll find the hand as best I can. It was I rolled on before it turned up in roll 20. I rolled in Path Builder, and I rolled a 17 with the +1 from Razban would make it an 18. So that's the roll we'll go with.
Yeah, it's you bind it quickly and well. The bleeding already seems to be slowing as you are binding it, but there is still quite a lot of blood. But you are able very quickly to make a sort of his hand into something held intact, even as the bandages have that faint pink tinge.
As he's bandaging, I'm just like, not to put any additional pressure on you, but please hurry. I'm not sure how much I've actually got left.
Yeah, let's try and keep what's remaining in your body just in there for now. I think
None
would
of
be
us
best.
need to be any closer to the Hallows than we already are. Lead the way, Kiav. Please.
All right. And yeah, I'll resume my march.
I think Cuff is gonna head up the back, spellbook in hand still. I think he's keeping kind of a respectable distance from Tavin, probably 15 or 20 feet. And he's just kind of scrutinizing everybody in front of him.
Gonna keep near the back, so between Tavin and Cuff. Asfan's will be periodically turning his head so that he can see what Cuff is doing.
Since Tavin's lost like 30 gallons of blood in the last 24 hours, he's just focusing very intently on every step, one foot in front of the other.
All right. I am going to need survival rolls from everyone.
Great.
Okay.
That'll be an 18 for Cuff.
It's a 14 for Tavin.
All right.
I will be guidancing myself, but so just add up
16.
1 to this.
16. All right.
That is a crit failure.
Oh no!
With the +1, it's a...
It's a natty one.
Okay, so the fact that I added guidance to that, it makes it actually a 2. Think it just stops it from being a crit failure, but it's still a fail. Think.
Well, that's how we'll rule it for tonight. I'm not sure if a crit failure is a crit failure regardless, but we're going to say that guidance buffers you against that critical failure for tonight.
I'll check the rules later.
Yeah.
Just to be sure.
Hey, listen, we're all still getting comfortable. Long live the ORC.
Flying down the mountainside.
For the purposes of expediency, I'm just going to roll in Path Builder for now because it
That is
keeps
totally
delaying
fine. Yep.
My rolls and thing.
Not a problem
That'd be-
whatsoever.
Cool.
So, you are. It's a hard hike back. It's not any easier to go back than it was to get to Popper's Basin to begin with. Rises and falls, narrow walkway, and now what little supplies you have remaining are whatever you could carry upon your back that you could recover. There's no way to have enough food to get back. You will likely go days without eating. It will be a question of which days those are. As you march, though, there is a more pertinent concern. The path of the sun, or rather the lack thereof, because at some times it is at your back, and at some times you are startled to realize it is before you, and sometimes it is to the south or the north. Sometimes it seems to be tracing an arc in the sky horizontally. Sometimes it is simply different. Sometimes you swear that the day is falling toward a dusk, only to realize it must be the very early morning. It is strenuous, it is confusing, and the only commonality, the only consistent thing this trek offers you is that the air grows colder and colder, that it ignores the presence, the absence, and the angle of the sun rather completely. You forge through, step by determined step. The cold is malignant, but you tread defiant. It, for that reason, feels so much more like a defeat when Rasvan cannot walk any further, when he begins to sink senselessly to his knees in the dim, the grey, the bitter cold. And there is, except by your own reckoning, no way to know how long you have traveled.
Vigil. Rasvan, you with us?
Forgive us.
Rasvan, can you give me a fortitude save real quick, bud?
Fortitude save.
Mm-hmm.
Good trick.
18. Okay. Not terrible.
Yeah, you retain consciousness. You feel your vision swimming, the sounds of their speech grow distant, but you retain your consciousness.
That's good.
We have not had to travel in such unnatural landscape before.
Mm-hmm.
May we rest now, we beg.
How far have we? How far away is the bottom of the mountain? Can we see the Meropis gun?
No. So you're a few days from being able to exit the hags if it takes you the time that it took you to get in. It is very difficult to know how long you have been traveling.
Yeah.
What you, I think, what sort of discourages this further is the fact that obviously with the constant wind and snow, there's not even really a record of your passage in. You know, it's just drifts of white. It's just ice that hangs from every outcropping. It's frost that clings to everything. It is the feeling that your skin is growing more like parchment and cracking, and I think all of you can see, you know, sort of livid little veins of red on your skin, like at the corners of your eyes and things like that, where the cold is just absolutely overcoming your body's ability to resist it. And it truly feels as if you could have been marching for 20 hours or 20 minutes. It is very difficult to measure your progress. But you have been aware of this strange warping sense of time on your way in, and now, already having come to that awareness, you know, you are all quite conscious of the sun's erratic patterns, of the way that days do not seem to pass, but flit and tease and flirt and then draw away. So what I'd like to know is, who of you do you think, if any, or maybe all in some way, have been in this time like trying to find a way to mark the passage of time? And how would you do that if you would?
I believe Cuff probably would have been trying to journal everything that's been happening
Yeah.
to the best of his ability, specifically so that he can bring it back as a report to Winnow.
I think Rasvan would have been more concerned with the emotional and physical state of everybody else. Too busy doing that, trying to keep track of time and stuff. Gone over his head.
Kiav has 100% been keeping his eyes ahead and making and on a swivel to make sure that we're not ambushed at any point by the things that devoured the Meropis over time. And also occasionally checking back to make sure that like everyone is still up and still moving and not choking each other. So that's probably been his whole.
Right.
Tavin, on the way up, absolutely would have. But he's otherwise distracted and indisposed on the way down.
Yeah, that tracks.
All right.
Yeah.
So, Cuff, and please blame my horrific short-term memory. Did you explain how Cuff is attempting to track the time?
Yeah. So essentially, he's been trying to journal everything in the common script,
Right.
So that he can relay that to Winnow when he returns. Previously, when the party was going to Pine Stem, that was something that Cuff had worked on pretty relentlessly, was trying to catalog things that were occurring.
Right.
Solely for the purpose of a report, because there was nobody else to do it.
Right.
We don't talk about Pine Stem.
So as you guys are sort of, as Cuff is marching, like how is he doing this as they're traveling? Is he stopping to make a notch in his book or a dot or a how is he what in what way would he be marking the passage of time if he's doing that?
I would say he, more than anything, he's probably making a notation of just a 1 to 2 second a 1 to 2 sentence we walked for maybe this many hours today and then we stopped to make camp.
So do you think he's been making those notes during this period of travel, or
on the return? Yes.
Okay.
I think he was cognizant that other people were probably being a little more diligent than he was on the way up.
Okay.
And he was very unhappy on the way up.
Right. Okay.
Not that he isn't now.
So he's marching, and then he's periodically just making a mark in his book, to think, we've made this many paces or these many hours have passed, or something like that. Just some sort of. Okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to get an idea of what, because the passage time, of course, very hard to discern.
The scrolls too, they're going to be kind of a little illegible.
Oh yes, they very much will be.
Is not his first writing form. And he's trying to move and write at the same time.
Right.
And it would probably be a surprise to some. Cuff isn't a particularly great writer. He's a great reader.
Tavin would typically be counting strides, but he for some reason keeps resetting at 10.
Yeah. Also, he just has lost so much blood.
Much blood.
It's all downhill from there.
The majority of Tavin's blood is on the mountains in various places. All right. So as you guys are talking about, potentially stopping to rest, Cuff, for whatever mark or that you were going to, to try and record passage. When you open the scroll to do so, you see at first maybe a few words in common about how long you think you've gone or how many steps you've taken, and then you see a series of like notches, like just downward lines to mark, I don't know, maybe paces, maybe hours. And then you start to see sort of some kind of illegible scribbles that look sort of like you were starting to write a common word, but then started putting like gnomish runes there. Then the lines become very, very crooked, and you're like writing in weird, drooping things. The characters are almost childlike. And then slowly they're curving more and more into spirals, but there are like common letters in the spirals. The pages are just a disaster. They mark nothing. It's in your mind, you marked everything with as much accuracy and regularity as you could muster, but when you look at it, it genuinely looks like just ravings. There is no regularity there. There is, and I cannot stress this to you enough. There is so much of it. Thousands of marks. The page is dark with them.
I think Cuff just snaps the journal shut. And he looks at everybody and goes, How long have we been marching?
It's
We-
about 10.
10?
About 10.
About 10.
We are not certain. Our energy has been spent on merely keeping going at this point. Why? We saw you writing, Cuff. What is wrong?
Nothing. We should press on.
One foot in front of the other.
Can you walk, Razvan?
We climb to our feet.
You're gonna go ahead and need to
Somewhat.
give me a strength check for that, or
We
athletics
make
if you
a
like.
strength check first, and
Yeah.
then maybe climb to our
Yeah, let's call that athletics just to give you the best shot possible.
I'm only got a -1 to that. What
Yeah.
could possibly go wrong?
Imagine.
I think as in attempting to stand up, Rasvan's first of all just gonna use what mental energy he has to guide himself for what good it does. And so 16, that's a 15 -1 for athletics and +1 for the guidance. 16.
Right. He stands to his feet slowly. He is visibly shaking. Like his entire body trembles. He looks like a marionette, and the last string is fraying quickly.
Okay. I'm gonna walk over to Razvan. I'm going to sheath my branch. What's about to happen is not going to be very dignified. And I'm going to fire and carry Razvan.
All right.
Just up over the shoulder
Absolutely.
and continue walking up front
Okay.
as best I can.
Yeah. Notably, nothing happens whatsoever.
Okay.
He rides upon your back, and there's
So there's a moment where Rashvan just completely stiffens up, like,
Mm-hmm.
no, we don't want to cause the same
yeah.
mental fracture that we did before. And when it doesn't happen, Okay.
What you don't see is as Kiav scoops you up, he's just closed his eyes, and he's like, but not from the strain of lifting you, purely from the please no.
Yeah.
But then when nothing happens, he starts carrying on.
Yeah, the really
I'm
only
not sure.
effect you noticed, Kiarv, is that obviously you can smell bile, because it's all over the front of his robes.
Yeah, delicious.
It will be a very faint, I'll say impossible to tell if you hear it audibly or mentally. Thank you. And then Restaurant is just gonna rest.
All right.
Trying very hard not to cry.
And it's an important question, Rasvan, but do you strive to remain conscious, or do you sort of just heed the exhaustion clawing at your mind?
We will give in
All right.
to rest.
All right. Alrighty. I'm going to go ahead and ask for survival checks for all of you. And well, not Rasvan, actually. He is resting. In place of Rasvan, Kiarv, if you could also add an athletics check with disadvantage.
Oh, goody. Okay, survival
Excuse
then. Okay, survival.
That's a
14 on survival.
Okay.
Coffee.
Survival is a 19.
Excellent.
And then athletics with disadvantage. Okay. 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 Dice are being very generous to me today. That is, with disadvantage, a dirty 20.
What?
Yeah, I rolled a
Wow.
17 and an 18.
Wow.
Here I thought you were going to roll a Kiav and
I-
11 again.
Yeah.
I was
For the
fully
audience,
expecting
that's
the
an 11.
Cosmos to give us a Kiav at that moment.
Yeah. No, it was a.
Cuff, what did you say you rolled?
An 18.
Dirty 20.
All right. You march on, every one of you. And though it seems impossible, because Rasvan seems to equal, if maybe not even exceed, the body mass of the one who is carrying him. You continue steadily. That same erratic passage of time. But eventually, you will you'll be forced to give in to your biological needs. And the question is whether you continue, in which you are all welcome to roll survival and athletics with disadvantage, to try and keep pushing, or to stop and camp.
I think once I feel the fatigue setting in, knowing full well that I'm literally carrying one of our party, another member is in pieces and constantly bleeding,
Yeah.
and the other member is, frantically marking away at a journal. I think I'll probably put Razvan down at this point and say, we think we should find somewhere, see if we can find some cover for the night, or for the time, however long it is. Gently,
That-
by the way. I put Razvan down gently. I don't just
Right.
drop him.
That is best. I don't remember last rest on the scent, but feel not as unwell as before.
Tavin just pale, just shaking in the wind. Just, I mean, if you guys need to stop, it's cool. I can keep going, but we can stop.
Mm-hmm. Such a big, strong man. Oh.
Yeah, he does not look like that is true at all. Tavin looks like it is
Only
surprising
flesh
he is
wounds.
conscious and he can move his mouth.
Do we see any outcroppings of rock? Anything that might provide some semblance of shelter in this space?
Yeah, with a relatively limited time of like looking for such space, yeah, there are plenty of places that you would serve at least as windbreaks. Certainly, not a lot of places that would provide any real shelter, but definitely enough to at least get out of the worst of the just perpetual biting wind.
Yeah, I think I'll shoulder brace Razvan over to where we're going, and then plonk down.
So you guys have probably, I would say, generously speaking, if you're very careful, enough like jerky and like hardtack for maybe 3 meals. Not generous meals at all, but 3 times that you can eat in the next several days. Is that something you want to do
3
tonight?
meals for all of us, or 3 meals
For all of us. No, for each of you have probably enough on you, individually rations wise, like 3 separate meals of some jerky and some hardtack, a little bit of protein, a little bit of carbohydrates, not a lot else.
Judging from the fact that we have anemic tavern and Razvan collapsed moments ago, I think we eat what we can. Carefully, Razvan. Don't waste it, basically.
Yeah.
Understand.
And then just rest up.
All right. So, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, go for it.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think Cuff elects not to eat.
Okay.
I don't think Cuff is super hungry right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll remember that.
Certainly, and I'm sure the rest of you notice as you're eating that Cuff is sitting there and not joining you. Are you guys just rolled up in your your cloaks and furs and scarves and things like that, or are you trying to produce heat in some way? Trying to make a fire or anything like that?
Oh, jeez.
You had with you like a very small bundle of wood, so it's like possible. There are. Well, I hesitate to really call them plants on the mountain, but there are sometimes some scraggly, rooty, rough stuff that might be flammable if it was dried enough, or if the fire was already going enough to heat it.
Still got like 9 torches, 5 torches. Could light a torch.
I'll
Fire.
look at the fire. Svan's gonna.
I
sit
will
down,
light a torch for fire.
All right.
turn our back on the rest of the party, and take our hood off.
Okay.
So they can't see our face or anything.
Right.
And then just spend a bit of time wiping and cleaning like the ichor
Yeah.
and everything he had thrown up off of his face.
So a moment of
Yeah.
privacy to sort of just get yourself.
What does his head look like?
Wait, does he have the?
Oh.
Do you? I don't know if you fully remove the veil, because if you don't, they wouldn't be able to see the back of your head anyway. They'd just see the back of your veil.
There was a mask under
yeah,
the other mask.
Well, he's got a hood, but
Yeah.
then he's got a semi-translucent black veil that drapes over his head.
So
inside
you,
of it.
You would see the veil, but you'd also see just enough of his hair,
Yeah.
which is dark.
Yeah.
Cut really quite short, except for get short around the sides and then back on top. It's only just barely visible under the veil. He puts the hood back on, turns around, eats his meal very quietly, and was just going to sit there very much meditating. And for game mechanics, he's restoring his psychic points and stuff.
Right. All right.
Do you think Cuff, um, having his minor incident with the journal earlier, do you think Cuff could attempt to recall knowledge for Arcana regarding anything that affects people's minds?
Just anything that affects their minds at all?
Like anything, like in terms of like magicka that he would have heard about, like maybe like naturally occurring magicka,
Oh, okay.
not necessarily something that somebody uses like
Right.
as a witch, but as something somebody may have come across in the past.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's very fair.
Okay. What your recall knowledge Arcana looks like means I just make an Arcana check and then pray. That's a 19, which is a really low roll
Mm-hmm.
for me,
Oh,
but a really okay result.
yeah, yeah. So I think there are probably you can probably recall numerous sort of not necessarily reliable research, not something that was like recorded, for research or historic purposes or anything like that, but plenty of tales of places that become bent or warped or turned in some way, people that become lost in deep woods and never return, and their body is found eventually somewhere completely different or only steps away from their home. Lots of sort of the tales of places that are just wrong, but nothing that that offers you any kind of like clinical insight. Just tales that echo this. Certainly, though, never to this like degree. This is more tales of someone takes a road they always known and the road ends up somewhere else, or like the aforementioned someone becoming lost in the woods, like places that are that don't seem to remain as they are. But like I said, nothing that sort of easily you could point to that says, oh, this is what is happening.
Darf.
Yeah.
Before nights, what kind of stories did you tell?
I told stories of brave men who had wandered the woods, brave women who had tamed said men. I told tales of loves lost, loves won, lives lost, lives won, all sorts. Do you have something in mind?
Have you ever told a tale of those who are lost?
Yes. Used to tell an old tale. Old tale my father told me of a little boy who would go wandering in the woods at night because he liked the dark. He liked the trees, the sounds that the animals made. He thought he was so in tune with nature. And every night he would go out after his father and mother were sleeping. And one night, whilst in a clearing, he sat and closed his eyes. And he heard an owl hooting in the night. And the hooting grew closer and closer. Until eventually, he opened his eyes, and there sat before him was an owl. The owl asked him his name in the common tongue. And the boy, in spite of himself, was not afraid. And he gave it. He gave the common tongue. Owl, his name. And when the owl asked what he was doing, he said, I'm listening to nature. I'm learning from the world. And the owl asked how much he wanted to know. The boy said, everything. I want to know everything about this world. All of its sounds, its sights. And the owl said, follow me. I'll show you. All of it. Every last bit. The boy leapt at the chance. And the owl flew him deeper and deeper into the woods. Until, finally, he stepped beyond the trees. And he was in a place unlike that he'd ever seen. He could hear singing. But the singing didn't bring him comfort. Didn't bring him joy. For the first time in his life, felt fear. But he started to follow the song. Couldn't stop, one foot after the other, moving closer and closer. As the song grew louder and louder, and he heard a hoot, telling him to turn back. Turn back if he wanted. And he did. He wanted, but he couldn't turn back. He stepped into a cave where the song was loudest. Mother and father never knew where he went, but an owl would come by every night, and they would swear sometimes amongst the hoots they would hear his voice crying out for help, or giggling, or laughing, or crying. I mostly think my father didn't want me to go into the woods by myself is really what it was, but like that was the story, yeah, of people being lost.
Dorf, why do all stories have to have birds?
Well, that's fair. At least it wasn't a sparrow, or a starling, or a raven. You know, it was like an owl, something of wisdom, something of truth and all. Well, except it was a deceitful owl, so you know. But again, like my father was a man who just wanted me to do the things he told me to. But it's a fun story.
I'm sure next you'll tell me a story about a crow.
I mean, I know several stories about crows. Some of them are fun. Crows are quite, puckish lads. But I think one story's probably enough. Oh.
Tavin was listening to the story the whole time, just nibbling on his jerky.
Mm-hmm.
And he just goes, fucking hate birds.
That's fair. That's fair. I think we all should be wary of birds. That's the lesson to take from this. Be wary of birds.
You hear Rasvan, who's been sitting there stock still like a robed, cloaked, cowled, hooded statue, and then just up from beneath the mouse. It is a very wise moral to that story. Avoid the birds.
That's it. I don't think that was the moral my father
Beware
was
the
trying to
birds.
teach. But beware the birds is pretty apt right now.
They seem to be root of some problems.
But yeah. To be fair,
our
they've
friend,
mostly. Sorry, go ahead, Rathman. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
as you are chronicling, I hesitate to say the word adventure, but these trials and tribulations. It would be good to have a collection of the various wisdoms come to light in this darkness, where the birds should be among the first of them, I think.
Particularly if only you can see them.
Fucking hate
We're
birds.
just going to gesture silently toward Kiav and go back to meditating again.
You know? And Cuff's gonna pull out his journal and open it in front of everybody. And he's just going to write in a blank page in common, beware birds. And then he's gonna kind of just like not hold the pages down, and it's going to open up to the page just behind it with all of his scrawls where the page has been darkened. And he's just gonna stare at it and try to make sense of it.
All right.
I think Kiav is, once everyone else sort of settles in, is going to draw his branch and his axe. Lay the axe across his lap as he places his back against a wall facing out of wherever we are. And I'm just going to spend some time with my branch, trying to figure out what happened and how it came to be.
Yeah.
We've had cheese, branch, where are the birds?
Look, wait until we're out of the mountains to spend some time with your branch, alright?
You play with
We
me
all
branch over
form-
here, no one look.
We all have like the house of Cuff and the house of Kiav. These will be the mottos. House Kiav, beware the birds. She's the branch.
Oh boy.
All right. So, obviously, you guys are in a position to take a long rest, extended rest of some kind. How are the watches set here? Or are you not having setting watches, or how does this rest go?
I, as the person who feels like, just from observation, am the person who feels least like I'm about to drop down and I haven't collapsed at any point yet.
Mm-hmm.
I will stay up for first watch,
Okay.
but then I'll let someone else take over.
I think Cuff wants to take whichever watch is like dead center in the middle.
Okay.
Preferably when it is the darkest.
Mm-hmm.
Tavin's gonna pass out quick and wake up for right after Cuff into the early morning hours.
Okay. So, is Rasvan part of the watch at this point, or is it going to be just the three brothers, the knights?
He's welcome to wake up and communicate with us, in my opinion.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not necessarily part of the shifts.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. He will, I'd say, for the second, third watch, for the last one, wake up and just keep him company for a bit.
Perfect. So, the first watch, Kaf, Rasvan, Tavin, all lying down to get some rest. Kiarv, you sitting there, sort of inspecting this branch. It appears, at its base, as if it was cut very cleanly from whatever tree it was. It doesn't appear to be like a branch that was torn off of something. It appears to be a branch that was cut. The bark is sort of thick, but sort of smooth, and it's pale. It's like almost birch-like. And of course, it splits and splits and splits again, into smaller and smaller branches, twigs. As you look at it, as you inspect it, you notice for the first time that there are bright green, tiny little buds forming, as if it is as if like the very rumors of leaves are beginning to sprout along its sort of knotted tendrils. There is no longer any sign that it was burnt at all. As your watch progresses, as you grow tired, it's when your eyelids droop and then open and you focus again that you can see these budding leaves are growing. And there are, by the end of your watch, tiny infant leaves that are sprouting all over the branch. You feel drawn almost to it. You feel somehow in some strange, sort of almost incomprehensible way, as if it is pleased. And that is the result of your communion with the branch.
I think that will. I think Kyav goes to sleep a little easier with that feeling of pleased branch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you come to the end of your watch. You wake Cuff. Cuff, you would immediately notice, sort of in the firelight, that there are little buds of leaves on the branch. Though they're very small. But yeah, it appears that somehow this shorn branch has some amount of life in it. Faint, but certainly present. And it is your turn for the watch. But if there's anything between the two of you before that, just let me know.
Darth, why is your branch growing?
You know, I couldn't tell you. However, I thought it was burning earlier, and prior to that, I thought I had a shield. So, I think it's happy. So that's why it's growing? Does that make sense? That doesn't make any sense at all, the thing that I'm saying, does it?
Not less sense than women who sing to plants in garden.
Right. Right, maybe you'd like my story. Eh? Maybe you'd like that.
Kiarv, you get a sudden, intense sensation that it liked your story.
Oh, like my story. It did.
Just this overwhelming sense. It's like euphoria snaking up from your hand where you hold the branch into your mind. Like this just euphoric feeling. Yeah.
Well,
It liked your story?
look, some of us have been spewing up feathers. Some of us have been breaking our arms in our sleep, I will take a happy branch that likes my stories.
Kiarv, you can test.
Tavin's asleep over here and his arm just twitches.
You can not tell a story and see if it grows.
I mean, if it's responding to my stories, I want to keep telling the stories, surely, because, you know, life, where there's life, there's hope. And, you know, we could use a bit of that right now, honestly. So, no more
Cannot
stories.
Disagree.
No more stories tonight, though, because I'm knackered. Razvan is light, like surprisingly light, but not light enough that carrying him up a mountain isn't still a lot.
Surprising. He has been deceptively light-footed in
Hasn't he,
the
though?
past.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kiarv, as you say that, you realize that's true. He was oddly light, actually.
really?
This is a man that's your size, and you realize it feels like you'd been carrying like a child on your back. But clearly not. Like, these dimensions are wrong. But yes, yeah, rather light.
Coming to stores soon. Rockabye Razvan. Just, right. Anyway, I'm gonna sleep. Man, just kick me if something happens, and make sure, like, if you see my branch doing anything non-growing related, just let me know, okay?
You will be first to know. I must complete work. So
Okay.
tired, I forgot. And Cuff is going to sit down and open to a very specific page in his book. And he is going to kind of see him like read through it a couple times before you fall asleep, Kiarv. And then he starts pacing around the sleeping area, muttering to himself. And he casts the alarm spell.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Once he sees you finish the alarm spell, I think that's probably the moment, because we've seen you do it before at this point. I think that's the point at which he's like, okay, everything's cool, and he will drift off.
All right. Cuff, you settle into your watch with your book. Exhaustion sort of clawing at you, trying to draw your eyes closed, pushing through. Though the moments between blinks sort of involuntarily lengthen. You see Rasvan slumbering peacefully. Tavin, much the same, curled into himself, conserving all warmth. They are, for the most part, just a bundle of cloak and fur. There's a difference in Kiarv, for he too is this bundle of leather and fur, conserving all of the warmth that he can around the meager firelight that you were able to create. But the branch is, in fact, growing. Even though there is snow and frost sticking to it, the tendrils are lengthening. And between one blink and the next, you can see that a bough has grown, shielding him from the wind as he sleeps. He, among all your companions, is the only one not involuntarily shivering in this dark and cold. But one of these blinks is longer than it should be. You are struggling to remain conscious and can feel yourself slowly losing that struggle. You do not wake Tavin for his watch. Instead, he is wakened by something else.
Oh dear.
My other arm snaps.
Tavin, your eyes flicker open. Something is wrong. Not that you can immediately discern, not that you can pick out, but you can feel it as you open your eyes, trained to feel it. There's something off. Your eyes dart around to the dim shapes of your companions in a faint orange-red light, until you look into the torch, to the small fire built around it, and realize that it is nothing but ash, that there is no light cast by it. Instead, Cuff sits cross-legged on the other side of the ashen pile. His arms are twisted backward. There is a faint popping sound as the joints of his fingers bend in the direction opposite that they should. And these inverse hands hold open his book upside down. There is something like tendrils of shadow reaching from the pages, reaching toward the source of the light. Spirals burning from within his eyelids, casting their fell glow upon the campsite. And the wind is so still. You've become used to it, become accustomed to its constant, malevolent bite, to the way it gnaws at your skin, but the air is perfectly still here. You can hear that as if a distant breeze and nothing more, except for the syllables, whispered, maddening, incoherent things that spill from his tongue. There is a pressure upon you, like your inner ear being pushed upon. It is dizzying. Like your skin is being pulled hard against your bones. This shuddering pressure building into the air, and a strange branch that seems to have grown over Kiarv, wilted and smoking. There is a long silence beyond reckoning, a difficult thing to understand, as if all of the moments have been stretched out like skin upon a rack and held there. And something, somehow, deep inside you, you see the twisted arms, the inverted hands, and these fell syllables, and understand one thing with absolute certainty. He is calling, and it is coming. And that's where we'll take our intermission.
Yeah, I'm sorry, what?
Cool.
I'm sorry, what? Yep.
We will be
Someone's-
back. We'll take
Don't worry about it.
a very brief break, and then we will return for the conclusion of tonight's session. We will see you in just a few minutes. Alright guys, welcome back to the conclusion of tonight's session. I'll try not to get us to bleed over too late, no pun intended.
Ha
ha.
ha ha.
So,
Not my problem.
yeah, it's either not your problem or it's like extremely specifically your problem.
Tired.
Yeah, it just really depends on how you want to interpret, you know. All right, guys. So, moments ago, Tavin, slowly waking from his slumber to realize there was a stillness all around him, an absence of sound. Even the wind in the hags that had been tormenting them all of this time was distant, faint, unfelt. The shield-turned branch was sheltering Kiarv and smoldering in the air, tendrils of smoke crawling up from it, and Cuff, with his arms turned backward, then bent inward, and every joint in his fingers, each digit popping as it curls backward around the edges of a book he holds upside down, is whispering syllables as two spirals of livid light burn through his eyelids. I'd like you all to roll for initiative.
Oh.
Good.
Good.
I can't wait.
Rasvan, you will roll for initiative with disadvantage. Kiarv, you will do the same.
Okay.
Alright. Well, better be good then.
Yeah. Everybody roll higher than
Alright.
Cuff.
I got a 24.
I
got
got a
a-
25.
Motherfucker.
I mean,
16.
I got a 16 also.
That was your net.
Oh my
I
god.
just
Oh.
Alright.
20. It was
Not-
a 17.
Not terrible.
Alright. Cuff. It is time. Before you do anything else, Cuff, roll me a 1d4.
D4. Let's see what comes out of a 1d4. It's a 1.
All right.
I feel like I needed something stronger than coffee.
All right. So here's what happens. You are all slowly waking with this feeling of pressure all over your bodies, as if you are being forcibly compressed by the air around you. You are met with the sharp, acrid scent of ozone in the air, the smell of arcane magics. The three of you are just sort of waking and regaining awareness. Kiev, mixed with that scent, is that of wood smoke, with an almost hickory tinge.
Branch.
As the branch sort of smolders. Even as you sort of reach up and instinctively sort of reach for it, it seems to recede into its previous shape, but you have that glimpse that it was sort of momentarily, like somehow in your sleep had sort of grown over you. But now as it takes this more portable form, it is at the same time shriveling, and when your fingers sort of wrap around it with you, grasp it, you feel a faint sensation that is like the rumor of fear, like a fear but felt by a thing that does not feel emotions as you feel them. You feel the antithesis of optimism. You feel a dread, a very elemental, very simple, very faint dread. As the pressure pushes in on you, there is a glow that is lifting itself from the tome upon Cuff's lap. The tendrils of shadow make that faint violet light sort of dance across his face, but the burning spiral on his closed eyes, twitching rapidly beneath the lids, and the syllables that are whispering, sibilant, and almost grating in your ears, are the only sounds. Indeed, there is no wind, and you notice that there are bare patches of stone, as if even the ice and snow have retreated from this place, though it gives no heat whatsoever. There are sounds all around you. Scrabbling, scratching, thumping sounds that come from over the edge of the cliffside, that come from the mountain tops lost to darkness above, that come from the path behind and the path ahead. Things gathering. And the pressure grows as it does. Rasvan, you are only just waking when you feel this horrific, purging cold crawl through every orifice in your body. The same way that you retched that bile out, it is as if things are pulsing and pushing themselves in your ears, your nostrils, the sockets of your eyes, your mouth, even beneath your fingernails. Pain overwhelming all around you. I need you to go ahead and give me a will saving throw.
I will.
Great way to start combat.
19.
Cuff. Does he succeed?
Yes.
Good.
There is a moment, Rasvan, where it feels like everything in you is being torn apart from the inside. You can feel yourself being pulled, and you can see for a moment flickers in your vision of the Hallows all around you. They're there and gone, the shadows, the trees, the endless forest rolling toward the Vale, and then it is gone. And there is an unmistakable, undeniable feeling of relief, as if something was very close and passed you by.
Oh boy.
And
Wait.
that is Cuff's turn.
Okay.
That's the end of Cuff's turn?
That is the end of Cuff's
Okay.
turn.
Cool. How far away is Cuff from Tavin?
So this is, because we're in Theater of the Mind, I want you to imagine that everybody in this combat, unless you specifically, are moving to or away, in relation to someone. You're all gathered around camping in a relatively small windbreak. So I would say you are all within about 20 feet of Cuff-ish.
Okay. Man. So Tevin obviously knows that something's wrong. I know. I see that. I feel the pressure. I see his eyes. I want to. I just get up and I slowly take a couple like half steps towards Cuff and reach, like with my body turned, like I'm sideways walking at him, and then with my coat sort of hiding the movement, I reach behind me to grab the whip off of my belt. And I just say, Cuff? You okay, bud?
No response, just the endless sort of sibilant, rasping whispers.
Face.
Just like a like ever gaining speed. It's like impossible to pick out individual syllables.
Cuff, I need you to put the book down.
All right, is that all you're gonna do with your?
Nope, I'm going to I'm going to move to just close enough to be in range, so 10 feet.
Okay.
And attack his book with my whip to try and disarm him.
Absolutely.
So let's see. This is to hit 24.
All right.
I guess that.
Yeah, the whip snaps. It glances against the cover of the book near the spine, and there is a brilliant strip of violet light that cascades out of it where the whip scores it. And unless you have further, you would move in some other way. I think that's it.
Okay. So did that count? Did that count for the disarm? Did I disarm him?
You did not.
Oh no! All right. Well, that was my entire plan. So.
They're yeah. It appears that this might be challenging.
Yeah. Cool. That's the end of my turn.
If it makes you feel any better, I can tell you that the successful roll kept it from doing you any damage.
Great. I'm glad about that.
All right, that brings us to whether Kiarv or Kenny has the I think it's the higher dexterity to decide.
I mean, my dexterity is a 14.
Same as mine. You can go ahead of me.
Okay.
All right. So Kiarv, as we come to you, there is a crunching on the ice above you, growing louder and nearer, and what looks to you like a at first like a large tuber of some sort, like a potato, but roughly the size of a dog, and cracked all over, seams from within, where you can see what looks like livid, inflamed meat. From that are threads. From these cracks, there are thick filament, and it is gouging these into the snow and sort of crawling the cliffside down above you vertically, approaching with this like almost sedate pace, and what you might at first mistake, for like the appeal of this lumpy sort of asymmetrical thing is hide that is ripped and torn to give this thing its strange mobility. I would say that's about 30 feet above you and the rest of the party.
Good to know. Okay. Gonna branch in one hand, axe in the other. I'm gonna turn the axe around so that the blade is facing me, and I'm gonna swipe the air in front of me, and with the most dad energy, I'm gonna go, "That's enough, Cuff!" And I'm going to cast Admonishing Ray.
Absolutely.
That's 2 of my actions to do. I just need to roll a spell attack. Cool. That is 22 to hit.
All right.
What's your AC?
16.
It's not 10 high. Okay, cool.
Yeah. The AC of
Six.
Cuff would work. It will work for hitting Cuff, but not for hitting the thing that he is currently hosting. But it is still a narrow hit.
Oh, okay. That is a... Nice. Okay, that is an 11 points of non-lethal bludgeoning damage.
Absolutely. So yeah,
you just feel this powerful like slap across the face.
Yeah. So yeah, you swing toward it, and one of those tendrils of shadow shoots weaves itself between your strike and Cuff, but is shattered as the butt of your axe hits it. Cuff remains completely untouched, but one of those tendrils sort of just it bursts into this shower of shards of this insubstantial matter, and then dissipates completely into the air.
How's Tavin look? Does he look like he's recovered? A little.
I got my full sleeve.
Okay, you did.
Yes, you guys are very lucky. He is the last watch because he was able to actually get his hit points back.
In which case, I'm going to use my last action to step so that I am kind of... I'm not gonna get fully next to him. I'm gonna get about 10 feet away from him, but like as equidistant as I can from Razvan and from Tavin. I mean, that's me.
All right.
Alrighty.
Yeah, that brings us to Rasvan. As we come to your turn, Rasvan, you can hear this sort of scratching, this rapid scratching sound on stone coming from over the edge of the cliffside upon which you camp, and you can see a series of what seem to be insectoid legs, sort of flat, grayish, spiny things clawing up top. And what mounts the cliffside looks to be almost like a millipede with significantly longer legs, and its carapace carved on its front, not naturally formed, but carved into the carapace, the shape of a human face.
Oh, yuck.
Oh.
And it
That's
sort of
great.
chitters, and as it comes over. With every moment that passes, the pressure around all of you is building. There is that strange sort of chunk of meat with its filament tendrils above you descending, and this crawling up upon the cliff, and Cuff murmuring and whisper these so incomprehensible sounds.
We are going to use one action to stand up, which basically happens in the blink of an eye, and we are on our feet. Glance at Cuff, who's chanting strange things, and at this centipede-like creature that's approaching. How far away is it from us, as in me?
Probably about equidistant as you are to Cuff, so probably about 20 feet away, the edge of the cliffside. Cliffs aren't particularly deep.
Okay, I got 2 actions left. I'm actually, yep. I'm gonna just gesture at the creature that's approaching and mentally tell it stop. And I'm gonna cast Forbidden Thought, amped, which means, give me a quick sec, I'm gonna post that up. So the thing I'm going to command it to not do is stride, as in to stop it from getting any closer. So you place a psychic lock in the foe's mind that prevents it from a specific action, in this case stride, or like attacks and things like that. If the creature attempts that action on its next turn, it must surmount your lock to do so, causing it to take 1d6 plus 3 mental damage with a basic will save. So it needs to make a basic will save if it decides to come closer. And because I'm amping it, if it fails that save, it's also stunned 1.
All right. Good to
And
know.
that will be everything this one does, just pointing at the thing.
All right.
Do I need to mark stunned on my sheet?
You do not.
The emphasis was
Only
on
happens
you.
if it tries to
Just
come
like
closer.
Yes, the emphasis
I
on
didn't
you.
hear that.
I don't know if it's better or worse that these creatures are also distinct entities, but Cuff, you don't need to be stunned. All right, you see Rasvan sort of turn toward this many-legged thing with its the face carved on its carapace, and hold up a hand in a gesture of halt. And then the creature seems to sort of shudder, and there is like this croaking sound that emanates from it, sort of hoarse and faint. But for the moment, it does not seem to be moving closer, as much as it struggles to do so. Which I think brings us to the end of the round. The creature above you, with its weird tendrils of filament sort of sticking out on all sides, sort of continues to maneuver itself closer. And you can see onyx beads of its eyes, like pressing through these fissures of raw, livid flesh inside of its hide. And from these eyes stretch yet more filaments, but these, like, many and fine and thinner, and they seem to sort of wave about, like, in the air, as if these eyes are somehow tasting its surroundings. And there is a sudden lurch, and it leaps through the air, and it lands with all these tendrils stretching out to cushion its sudden descent right in front of you, Kjarv. These thin filament tendrils stretch longer from the onyx eyes, and begin to sort of brush up against the cloth of your garb. I would like you to give me a fortitude save.
That's a dirty 20. 13 plus 7.
Nicely done.
Okay. There is a feeling, sort of like static electricity, that moves up your entire body. It is a very uncomfortable, sharp, prickling sensation that sort of crawls up your frame, and it reaches Kjarv's head, and you can feel that prickling concentrate itself in your eyes and your mouth. Rasvan, Tavin, you might even see little sparks of colorless light, like between his lips and eyelashes, even just this strange current, and then it dissipates. It stops. The human-faced millipede, it sort of rears up and then tries to force itself. It seems to be trying to push through something to lurch in your direction, Rasvan. And it takes... Do you want to roll damage, or shall I?
Well, damage, why not?
Go for it. Roll the damage that your command does to this.
Your melty brain power
Actually,
does.
it automatically did when I cast the spell. So it's 7 damage.
Okay. I thought the damage was when it tried to move. I might have misunderstood.
The character sheet auto rolls the damage then.
Okay. Okay, I
It
see what
only
you're saying.
applies if he tries to move. So
Right,
yeah,
okay.
The damage is rolled, so it's a 7 that he takes.
Okay. Yeah. And so as it does, you see it sort of shudder, and that sort of hoarse, whining sound sort of emerges from it again. A sort of as it like tries to push through this, and it sort of shudders. It shakes, and it sort of its movement. It moves towards you, but not all the way, and its stride is sort of weak and unsteady, as if it's like pushing against a heavy wind.
It's stunned 1 now, which means it loses one of its actions on its next turn.
Alrighty. And that brings us back to Cuff. Would you do me a favor and roll me 1d4, but re-roll if you get a 1.
Okay. Well, of course I rolled a 1.
That one.
4.
All right. Well, if you knew what a 1 was, you can logically guess what the 4 is.
I'm not sorry, but I'm a little sorry.
Okay. You're gonna hit absolutely everyone. Kiarv, Rasvan, and Tavin. I'm gonna need you all to make a fortitude save.
Ooh, I don't like those ones.
Okay.
I do get the +2 from Charmed Life.
18.
And start taking photos so that you can see that this is real. That's a 25 total. 18 plus 7.
That's it done.
Okay, 22.
18's a DC, isn't it?
For my spell save DC, yes, it is 18.
Oh, please be enough, please be enough, please be enough, please be enough.
But what about Cuff Alter?
What about the other cuff?
I appreciate that, Connor.
What did you get, Rasvan?
18.
You did get an 18.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty.
I'm hoping that was a slight disappointment that I heard from him.
So
You did get an 18? Oh, okay.
the whispering in all of your ears grows louder.
Don't like that.
And you all begin to sweat. At least momentarily, you believe that you begin to sweat. It is in that next moment, it is in that next heartbeat that you realize it is blood that is being pulled out of every pore of the flesh that faces Cuff. As the whispering grows louder, tendrils of your blood are being drawn through your skin. You stand there in that moment. You watch these thin trails of your blood pouring toward him as if through gravity, and then there is a sudden tension, and that blood falls to the snow, sort of coating it in speckles of crimson and pink.
Thanks.
You will remain standing, and despite the drizzle of blood on your skin, Kiarv, Tavin, you seem unharmed. It is Rasvan where the blood continues to pour as you take 20 points of damage.
Ooh. I am down to 2 hit points.
Hey. Alright.
That blood crawls through the air, and it starts to seep into Cuff's mouth as his lips move, some of it splashing around until there is blood sort of just dripping there. And as it does, his skin grows feverish, flushed, and red, and his spine seems to straighten, and there is this pulsing heartbeat, like sensation in the air, like all of you are being buffeted, like all of you are being pulled, stumbling toward Cuff, and the pressure increases in the air. The feeling of approach, the feeling of everything nearing. And I think that brings us to Tavin.
Uh-huh. I'm going to tumble through to get behind Cuff. That's you in acrobatics against reflex DC. 21.
Oh boy, what is my reflex?
Oh man.
Do I need to make a saving throw for reflex, Connor? Is that correct?
It's just against your DC, so I don't know.
So I think that would be against your reflex score, if I'm right.
Probably. I'm still learning to navigate the character sheet.
Yeah. Oh, we all
This is
are.
our first real combat in
Yeah.
Pathfinder.
It would be your level, your proficiency bonus, and your related ability score bonus. So like your dexterity in this case.
Okay, so. My glasses back on. That was a mistake. You said 10 plus my dex plus my class proficiency?
Yep.
Cool. Oh yeah, yeah, that's not close.
Oh, no.
That's embarrassingly different in terms of numbers.
Okay, so successful tumble through gives me panache.
Okay.
So increases my movement speed by 5.
What was your roll on that, by the way?
I rolled a 21.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. And it also activates my precision strikes.
If it's not clear, I'm manipulating all of Cuff's numbers behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
But you still succeeded. Just not as much as you would have otherwise.
And I want to. Golly, man. All right, I'm gonna try and gonna hit him with the.
Him with the hum.
You're gonna hit him with the.
Could you not?
Could you not? Yeah, I'm gonna hit you with. I'm gonna hit you with the whip. To try and. Yeah, I'm just gonna close range hit you with the whip. Which can I'm trying to figure out when it can disarm. Oh, I just have to I just do the disarm with athletics check. Alright, I'll just attempt to disarm with an athletics check. Yeah.
All right.
Against a reflex DC.
Well. Cool. So it's still 16 plus whatever
Well,
shenanigans occur.
well, that was a 19 on that one.
All right. So you you move forward with that almost lupine grace, and you flick your wrist. The whip comes and it coils around one of Cuff's wrists. Immediately, the shadowy tendrils coming from within the book sort of wrap around the whip itself, and you can feel a shock of energy rush through your body. For your reference, outside of Vakasi-Ya, as if you had grabbed a live power line. I am going to need you to make me a will save.
28.
Okay. There is a moment where it feels like everything stops for you. There's a moment where everything around you is frozen, just the fraction of a second. But in that fraction of a second, every single bit of your will, every corner of your soul is consumed by a singular desire to kill the bard.
No, thank you.
And then it's gone. You do, however, shake violently, stumble, fall prone, and take 12 points of shocking damage.
Oof. Okay.
But you don't immediately get back up and try to murder Kiarv.
Which Kiav appreciates.
Pros and cons.
Yeah. Yeah.
You guys are rolling so fucking well tonight.
I know.
I mean,
Cuff is casting an array of spells you get at like level 15. And the narrowness with which you are surviving these, like, you're using up your luck for the rest of the campaign
I'd like
right
to
now.
continue surviving, please.
feels like it, honestly.
Like genuinely, I am stunned at how consistently you guys are narrowly avoiding things that could like horribly maim the entire party. Like,
Excellent.
it's just, I'm shocked. Even with Rasvan having 2 hit points, this is going far better than it should go. Far better.
Only a flesh wound.
Here's but a scratch.
All right. I believe that brings us to Kiarv.
That probably ended my turn.
Okay.
That absolutely ends your turn, yeah.
I'm gonna channel all of my thoughts, all my stories, and all my songs into my axe.
All right.
The book is what seems to be the source of these tendrils, yes?
Yes, they are. These sort of shadowy tendrils are like coming out of, imagine like the inner, like between the pages of the book, and it's sort of casting this sort of fell glow with another sort of brighter gash of light from the piece of like leather that was cut by the Tavin's first whip strike.
Okay. Channeling, again, stories, songs into the axe. I'm going to imbue my axe with a phase bolt, and I'm going to use spell strike, and I'm going to strike the book with the axe.
All right.
Okay. So it's an axe attack. Okay. Again, I will take a photo and send it to you.
Oh, I
so that
believe you
can
do.
see. I know, but I just
He's just
just
impressed.
for clarity, so I think that is an 18 plus 6, 24.
All right.
Which means I then, if it hits,
Why don't you tell me what it does?
then I'll decide.
Oh, no.
It takes
I'm just going to decide the extent of what happens.
the damage from the axe. It also takes the damage from the spell.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be 1d8 plus 3 plus 1d4 plus 2.
Okay. So you're striking the book with the axe directly, but also doing the spell damage?
Yeah.
Okay. Absolutely.
So that's 8
Go ahead and roll damage.
plus 1d4 plus 2. Okay, so that is 12. No, 6. 14. 14 points of damage. 8 of which is slashing, and 6 of which is piercing.
All right. Kiarv is moving toward Cuff in what seems like slow motion. And you would swear, Rasvan and Tavin, that there is music around him, just this faint tune on the wind that you can't place, a melody scattered and fragmented like a song that you can almost hear. In one hand, slack, he holds the branch, and its tendrils begin to spread and extend, and leaves sprout from it with edges like razor blades. His knuckles are white on the haft of his hatchet. As he lifts it and brings it down, you can see it seems to shear the frigid air itself. It seems to cut through the violet light. The tendrils reach up. They encircle the blade and the haft as it descends with its strength, and they cannot push it backward. It cuts through them. It rends them, and it sinks between the pages of the book, and there is a sound that is impossible to describe. A keening, and then a rumbling, and then something that sounds like the sound of rage and of agony. Kiarv, you are blown backwards with the force of the explosion from this tome as the top half of the book's spine splits. Cuff, he seems to curl in on himself, his legs and arms in rictus, almost like he is a spider that has been fatally struck. There is blood pouring down his mouth. There are black tears coming from his eyes. But he is still speaking. He is whispering through chattering teeth. The knuckles are popping and curling as he tries to grasp the book tighter. Split in the top, and the creatures around you also shudder and flinch and wail, and then redouble their pace to close on you. There is a shape, misshapen, strange and careening almost, rising behind Cuff, larger than a bear, long clawed pillar like legs and paws. It reels and twitches towards you, its eyes torn away like the flesh on its head. The rotting corpse of a Meropis moving up behind Cuff, shielding him, and then passing him, bearing down on you closer and closer, and even as the book seems to thrash and scream a sound that cuts through the mountains, a silhouette on the horizon behind Cuff, something that matches and then exceeds the cruel glory itself, a thing of only vaguely, of only parody of man shape, a thing many-limbed that looks down upon you and then opens its maw. And that's where we'll end it for tonight.
I knew it.
No.
You son of a gun.
No.
Knew it.
Join us in 6 weeks' time when we get to find out what that is.
God's monsters, man.
I don't know why you guys are all so worked up.
Because I'm gonna be prone for a week staring at the mother of giants about to eat me.
And the dead Meropis just casually strolling
Oh,
through. And
Yeah,
Spent
just
several weeks in the grasp of your hand around our throats, so
Yeah, that's
well,
true.
that's fair.
Some people pay good money for that, so you know.
yeah. Well, guys, tune in next Wednesday. Even if I am literally on fire, tune in next week. I will fucking be here.
Immolation.
Yeah, I will be here just screaming my DMing while my hair is aflame if I have to. Tune in next week where I will be here doing this. and find out what happens to Cuff and his friends. And by friends, I mean the shambling Meropis, a meat potato with webby legs and a millipede with a human face carved in it. Like, you know, his friends.
These guys on the stream, they're family.
No. We're
I didn't get to
brothers.
pick them.
But yeah, guys, it's awesome to be back. It's so good to see you guys.
so
And all you guys who tuned in to watch, thank you.
it was an absolute blast.
Everybody, I love you.
You guys are brilliant every
Lot
week.
love for that branch too. Branch needs a name.
I'll name it.
If anybody has any great theories, by the way, for maybe what's going on, a great place to talk about those is be on our community Discord server. That has been pinned in the
Absolutely true.
chat.
Yeah, that's right.
It's also a great place to talk to
Can get
us, plant ideas in our heads. It's
Yeah.
not as hard as you think.
There's a lot of space in there for more ideas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a game of Pong in mind.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. I'm fine. We're all fine. No, it's
Things
fine.
where I, again,
Hey,
forget
listen.
how to combat.
Guys, I cannot get over how amazed I am that you're all just
Alive.
completely functional at the end of this this session, partway through this combat. Like, the amount of room there was for absolute carnage, and the fact that you guys repeatedly evaded it was genuinely pretty impressive.
Yeah.
You're not gonna bring us back just to TPK us.
No.
I mean, I'll
You're
do my
gonna
best.
Try, but we're not gonna let you.
Give him ideas.
Right. Hopefully I will have some new cool stream features to debut next week. But for now, we're gonna call it a night. But before we go, let me just say a few more words. Thank you for joining us for another episode. You are the point of all this. Your journey, your survival, your life. And if you have anything that you can offer, offer it to our allies. The American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, Mental Health America, Human Rights First, and RAIN, among others, wage war against the darkness every day, and you can be a part of that fight. You can make the world better, even a little. If you want to help us specifically, please consider subscribing here or becoming a part of our Patreon. And finally, if you're sitting there wondering if there's help, there is. And if you're watching us feeling lost and alone, you are not. Everyone has a story. Every story matters. So be kind to one another. Be gentle with yourselves. And always be a little better than you have to. Until next we meet, my friends. Good night.